in our weekly reading in Noach, we find a couple of times words that end with the last two consonants of the word are both Shva. And I want to discuss a little bit the pronunciation and the Masorah in general, because it's well known that when there are two vowels, Shva is two dots that are vertical under the letter, and that vowel is sometimes read as a short S sound, and sometimes it's not read at all. Shvana and Shvanach. So when there are two consonants with both having Shva under them, the second one is the one that's pronounced, not the first one. For instance, on the Wednesdays we say Hayhavrecha, not Hayhavercha, right? Two consonants, Vet and Reish. Both have Shva under them. The first one is not pronounced as Shvanach, the second one is Shvana, and it's pronounced as E. Or for instance, in Shema we say Uveshoch Becha. So Shoch Becha, right? The Chaf has a vowel that's not pronounced, but the Bet has a vowel that is pronounced. A short E. So the question is, what about if it's at the end of the word? If two last consonants have both Shva in them. Now notice, Hebrew is a kind of language where generally each consonant has a vowel, and there are syllables. In English, for instance, there are a lot of words where they have a bunch of consonants with no vowels at all in between. In Hebrew, that doesn't happen. And as I said, even when there is a Shva, you don't really have, if you have two Shvas in a row, one at least is pronounced. So you don't have just a situation where many consonants are pronounced without vowels. The syllables are all spread out with consonants and vowels interchanging, kind of. But that's in the middle of the word. What about the end of the word? Can you find a situation where the end of the word is two consonants in a row with no vowels pronounced, meaning with Shva? So there are a couple of examples in our Parsha. For instance, it says about Noach that he drank of the wine. The word in Hebrew is vayesht. It's the 21st verse in the 9th chapter of Bereshit, of Genesis. Vayesht. So there are two last letters, two consonants with both Shva under them, and it's not pronounced. It's not the same as it would have been in the middle of the word. So it's just Vayesht. The truth is there was a dispute about it. Minchat Shai brings that there are some who thought that it's not an exclusion, and you should pronounce Vayeshte. Vayeshte. Right? That there should be a short S sound under the second consonant. And similarly, for instance, when it says Yafte lekim leyefet, not Yaft, Yafte, right? That there would be a short E under the second consonant. But we don't follow that opinion. We follow the opinion that it's an exclusion. When it's at the end of the word, we pronounce only, we do not pronounce either of these Shvas. So it's two consonants in a row, in a sense. And this is just an example of how careful the sages are with even the minor issues, like the text of the Torah doesn't contain vowels at all. This is all part of the oral law. Notice that if you just look at the text of the Torah scroll, there are only consonants. So it's all dependent. When people, some people try to reject oral law, they have to remember that what you're rejecting is inclusive in how to pronounce the Torah words, how to understand the words of the Torah, how to translate the Torah. There's no such thing as just the written text. It's really dependent. The understanding and even the simple reading the text depends on the oral law. And I wanted to discuss another interesting phenomenon in our Parsha. There is a dispute in various scrolls about one word. It's not really a dispute about how to understand the word, only a dispute of how to write it. Vayihi or Vayiyu. About the days of Noach, it says, and they were, or sometimes by day, when genealogies of certain people are said, sometimes the Torah uses the word Vayihi, sometimes Vayiyu. Yemei such and such. The days of such and such were, or the days of such and such was. In Hebrew, both make sense. There's no problem with the type of, maybe in English it wouldn't sound right, this mixing of plural and singular. Days are plural, so you'd imagine that it should always be Vayiyu. But really about days, it sometimes says Vayihi. It's a collective. Days that was or were. So in this particular case, the Yemenite manuscripts have it one way, and the rest of our manuscripts have a different way. So one might wonder, wow, the Jews weren't even able to preserve their own Torah. They have this difference between various manuscripts. And I say, wow, we preserved our Torah so well that there are only a handful of disputes. This is really between the Torah scrolls of Yemenite Jews and the rest. The differences are about 10, and almost all the other ones are in spelling of the word. And even the one difference that's actually in what the word, not just the spelling, but the actual kind of meaning of the word, really, in understanding the text, it makes no difference. Was or were, obviously, it's clear what the Torah is saying. The question is only about the specific place where it has the plural or the singular. And the other differences, like I said, are even more minor. And that's in the Torah scroll that has something like over 300,000 letters. So there are only 10 disputes, and that's between Yemenites. It was a separate community for maybe 2,500 years, and preserved their Masorah, their tradition, slightly differently, with a few minor differences compared to the rest of the world. There are also differences sometimes between Ashkenazic and Sephardic scrolls, and like one letter or something, Daka. A lot of Ashkenazi scrolls also have it, like Sephardim with the Daka. The word Daka is written with Hey, but Chabad and certain other scrolls have Aleph. Again, there's no difference in understanding the word, no difference in what the text means, only the difference in how to spell it. So I say it's actually a great accomplishment, given that we were so dispersed and there are only a handful of differences in the end of the day. I just made a short lesson because people were asking me, since, like I said, my channel generally is for the Jews, and that's what my main purpose was always. But since the algorithm of YouTube offers my videos to various people, and in particular my videos on Sukkot were offered to a lot of Christians because they talk about Gog and Magog, and Christians love these types of topics. So I made a couple of videos where I discuss why we, the Jews, hold on to our tradition and do not become Christians. So some of them then asked me, what about Islam? What is Jewish position in Islam? So I just made a video with a few words about our position in Islam as well. There is really no major difference in terms of what our position to any religion is, that we have our tradition and that's what we follow, and we guide it very, very carefully. With extreme care, we guide our Sifrei Torah, our text of Torah, to preserve the letters. And there's no reason for us to consider other religions. Even whatever the later prophets in the Torah, they always just emphasized what Moshe said. And the last prophet, Malachi, said that in the end of days, right, remember the Torah of Moshe. So why in the world would we consider other religions, especially since our preservation of the text and preservation of our tradition is very, very careful? We definitely will not consider somebody who comes and says, oh, okay, I have a new understanding for you. You were wrong. We're going to tell you that Quran is the correct book. Of course, the Jews are not going to accept that. Of course, we believe in our Masorah, but we're completely open and let live kind of people. If Muslims want to be Muslim, nobody's trying to convert them, just like we don't try to convert the Christians. And generally, if non-Jews come to convert to Judaism, as I mentioned in those videos, we do not try to encourage them. The opposite, we try to discourage them. The people can be righteous without being Jewish. If a person is not born Jewish, then the Judaism as a religion is not for them. And the vast majority of Jews are descendants of those ancient nation of Jews. It's, by the way, proven genetically also. The Ashkenazi Jews, today, because of the politics, they keep telling us that we're just regular Europeans. We're not regular Europeans. It's genetically proven that we come from the Middle East. We all come from the Kohanim specifically were tested that they all come from the same ancestor some over 100 generations ago. More than 90, I think 6 or 4%, I don't remember the exact number, of Kohanim today, Kohens, come from one specific male ancestor over 100 generations ago. So we have a Jewish nation, and there are some people who sometimes convert to Judaism, but we're not really trying to spread. Maybe if our religion required us to spread Judaism the way that Christians and Muslims try to do it, we would have maybe 1 billion Jews today. But we're not trying to do that at all. The Torah calls us a small nation, and we're not trying to influence others to convert. What we do want others is to be moral and not to support murder, for instance, terrorism. And therefore, those Muslims who do not support terrorism, they could be our very close, nice people with whom we will live and let live. But obviously, those who support terrorism, there's not really much compromise left, as they say, right? If they want to kill you, and you can't compromise halfway, okay, right? If they want to kill you and we want to just live, there's not much room left for compromise. So those Muslims that are pro-Israel, or at least not against Israel, we're completely fine with them. And I specifically have a great appreciation to a lot of Christians who are pro-Israel. I think that the reason a lot of American politicians are pro-Israel is generally because of the Christian groups, not because of the Jews. There's very few Jews in America altogether, relatively speaking, just a couple of, maybe 2.5% or something. And on top of it, many of them are not particularly religious, and many of them, for them, Israel is not a particularly important thing. So the people who actually influence the fact that America is generally more or less pro-Israel are the Christians. So we definitely, for the good, we will appreciate it. But that doesn't mean that we're going to listen to theological arguments. Whatever Christians want to believe, it's their choice. But let's keep the two religions separate. Jews are going to be Jews, and it's predicted in the Torah till the end of days. As I mentioned all of that on that video. But here on this video, I just wanted to show you how we were extremely careful, even about the minor details, even about the exact pronunciation of Shva, which is not even part of the Torah text, it's oral tradition. Even that is all discussed with very great detail. Minchat Shai is one of the great books that deals with all these kinds of issues of Masorah, of the vowels, of the text. And you could see how careful he is with manuscripts and everything, just to preserve the text to the best of our ability. And if you like this video, please press like and please subscribe to our channel.